we have a situation where Douglas Shulman, you'll recall, said he went to the White House, 180 times, an estimated 180 times. Douglas Shulman, the Commissioner of the IRS, was summoned to the White House, went to the White House 180 times. He was asked what it was that he was going to the White House for all that time. And you remember he gave the facetious answer that he was there for the Easter egg roll. So he's there. In other words, that explains one of the 118 times he was at the White House, but it doesn't explain the other 117, unless they're doing more Easter egg hunts than we had. Now, he is not a policy man. He's supposed to be a civil servant who implements policy. Why is he at the White House? Why is the Commissioner of the IRS at the White House 120 times in 2010 and 2011? That's 60 times a year. That's more than once a week. I'd be fascinated. And somebody could do this because I think the logs are out. The White House visitors logs are out there. I'd be fascinated to know how often this supposedly non-political civil servant commissioner of the IRS, who supposedly has no role in policy making, why he gets to visit the White House 118 times. Is that more, for example, than the Secretary of Defense visited the White House in that period? Is that more than the director of the CIA visited the White House in that period? You know, there's a lot of talk about where was Obama on the night of Benghazi. From the Douglas Shulman's testimony to Congress, it looks like the likelihood is that Obama was mysteriously meeting with Douglas Shulman, Commissioner of the IRS, yet again, for one of those 60 visits a year that Douglas Shulman, Commissioner of the IRS, makes to the Obama White House. Now, the Washington Examiner reported on Monday, this was Shulman's predecessor. Mark Everson was Commissioner of Internal Revenue for the government of the United States from 2003 to 2007. And do you know how often he visited the White House in that time? Go on, take a wild guess. Douglas Shulman visited the White House, the Obama White House, 60 times a year. The guy, the squirmy little dweeb who succeeded him, Stephen Miller, also visited numerous times. Can't recall how many. Douglas Shulman, 60 times a year. Do you know how many times his predecessor, Mark Everson, visited the Bush White House between 2003 and 2007? Just once. Something doesn't smell right here. It's not, in fact, it's beyond that. It smells toxic. If you can't get the smell of this is a guy who should not, in the normal course of events, would be expected to have no FaceTime with the president except at the White House Christmas party. That's it. He reports to the Treasury Secretary, but unlike the Treasury Secretary, he is not charged with making policy. He is there to implement policy. He is there to implement the laws impartially. Why was Douglas Shulman, Commissioner of the IRS, visiting the White House 60 times a year? 118 times. 118 times he visited the White House in 2010 and 2011. Mark Everson, in the same period, while this guy, Douglas Shulman, averaged 60 visits a year to the White House, Mark Everson managed an average 1/4 of one visit a year in the White House, his predecessor. This is serious corruption here. And whatever the nice lady from Dryden, New York says about it, if you're not concerned about this, if you don't understand how dangerous it is, because, she's nobody, the lady from Dryden, New York, she's a pleasant enough lady, but she doesn't have the inside ear of Washington. This is decaying into a crony state. It's not the kind of totalitarianism, ideological totalitarianism they have in the Soviet Union or in North Korea or anything like that. It's like the worst kind of crony banana republic It's not what you know, it's who you know. There are no laws. The laws don't matter. Subclause 27, section 3D, paragraph 4 of the tax code doesn't matter. What matters is whose phone number you have in your Rolodex. Who can you call to get the problem to go away? Who can you call to get the Obamacare opt-out? Who can you call to get the exemption? And if you know someone inside this little circle, this little closed circle, who can do you the right kind of favor, then you're okay. Everybody else, you're just on the receiving end of all this stuff. The Commissioner of Internal Revenue visiting the White House 60 times a year. What for? What for? And if you're a liberal like that lady in Dryden, New York, I love talking to liberals on this show. Call me up, 1-800-282-2882. Because I say this stinks, and if you want to give me an explanation of how this is normal, I can tell you something else. The head of Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs in London does not make 60 visits to 10 Downing Street to see David Cameron a year. The head of the equivalent agency in Canada does not make 60 visits a year to visit Stephen Harper, the Prime Minister of Canada. The head of, even in France, where they've just introduced some stupid 75% top tax, not on income but on wealth, so some people are actually paying more than 100% of their income in taxes. They just introduced that for everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're left-wing, whether you're right-wing. Left-wing actors like Gérard Depardieu flee to Belgium because it affects everybody. Because the Commissioner of Revenue in Paris is not going into the Élysée Palace to see Monsieur le Président Hollande 60 times a year. In a free society where we are equal before the law, there is no reason for the tax collector, for the national tax collector, to be going in to see the President of the United States 60 times in the course of the year. And by the way, I saw some, Republican this and Republicans that from Congress and whatnot talking about this on the TV shows last night. They're not mad enough about this. They seem to think it's just one of those, Washington scandals. It's like Benghazi. You call a few people before the committee. There's some talking about an independent counsel, whatever. And, what did he know and when did he know and blah, blah, blah. And after 6 months, everybody gets bored and it all dribbles out and it goes nowhere. This is not. This is something rotten and diseased at the heart of American government. If you have a good explanation as to why the Commissioner of Internal Revenue is visiting the White House 60 times a year, more than once a week, call me up and let me know, because I can think of no good